sound a little bad because a couple of days ago we had a cold snap. You know, went from like high 80s to down to the 40s, and it caught me short, so I sound like some kind of foghorn or something. But anyhow, I was just watching another one of my video subscriptions here. Shall not be infringed. But he is an interesting fellow, let me tell you. A bit young, but sorry, dude, I had to put that in there. He raises interesting questions about his video, We Are All in Debtor's Prison. And, oh man, I'm hurting. In the little tiff that we had, or the exchange of ideas, how's that? You know, I said that, you know, I was on welfare, or not welfare. What I did was took Medicaid and food stamps. That's all I took. I didn't take any money, any of that. I didn't need to because I had a job, and by God, you know, that's the way I wanted it, and that's the way I kept it. But by God, he asked an interesting question. Now, let me tell you, shall not. When I was having all them kids, my youngest is 17, so that's 17 years ago. And so that's quite a ways back, and a lot of this wasn't going on. It was just, well, you know, hey, okay. Right, it's not the issue that it is now because the illegal's sucking it up. And that's, by God, the problem. There's no question. And I have absolute facts and evidence to back up my statements, and that's another video. And by God, I'm gonna make it because it's deplorable. It's you don't know the things I've witnessed. Anyway, back then we were talking 91. You know, 20-some odd years ago. My oldest is 23, youngest is 17. We had 5 kids in 6 years. Thanks to the wonders of military medical science. And, well, when the kids came on, well, it was just what you did. You know, go down, if you ain't got that much going on, you ain't got that much money, then you go down and you sign up for Medicaid, and, you know, you need some stamps too, and you go, oh, okay, oh, you know. You know, it was just a given. Nobody really, you know, it's like, well, shit. You know, how would you get along without it? And there are those a lot of people that were. See, so I was like a small segment of society that was getting them, so it wasn't that big a deal. So there's that story. Anyway, he said, you know, nobody put a gun to your head to take those benefits, I'll call them. Oh, man. And, you know, yeah, that's right. That made me think, because I didn't even give it a thought. Not one thought. Just, you know, sign, and oh, here we go, we have babies. And everyone, oh, that's fine, you know. Nowadays, it's not. What were my options? What could I have done? Went without stuff and had less. There's no way you could have, you don't know the income you'd have to have and not have medical assistance. You know, there's this big, like, geez, $35,000 gap between they drop you off of assistance and that your own efforts can pick you up and pay for it yourself. It's a big gap, huge gap. You just can't do it. And but anyway, I'm sitting there thinking, well, what were my options? What could I have done? The food stamps, yeah, I could have done without them. You know, I could have. You know, after a while, if you have kids, you know, well, you know, because I just couldn't get the jobs that it would take to pay for them. So, and that made me think of another thing. What are our options? You know, the food stamp thing, the Medicaid thing, that's one thing. So that was my story on that. My story now is he had come up with the idea. If he had 25 acres on you know, oceanfront, you know, he wouldn't have to set foot in any commercial doing anything. He could lobster and fish and garden, you know, which, yeah, goats too, you know, all kinds of chickens, you know, stuff like that. But you can't do it because government won't let you. He said go over, you know, you could catch some lobster and go trade for some fish, or maybe corn, you know, canned goods, that kind of thing. But the government can't stick their fingers, sorry, in it to get their cut, which, you know, that's just flat out wrong. If I'm not using nothing you use your taxes to pay for, like roads and bridges and that kind of crap, then why should I be paying taxes? Now, I do say this is a sidebar. I feel all these tax people ditching and dodging these bona fide taxes, right? Render unto Caesar which is Caesar's. I'm not that, you know, I'm kind of, you know, I believe that shit. Well, it's not shit, but anyway. Now here's the second half of this. What if we just wanted to shuck this here system? What if I said I'm going to get my 50 caliber Hawkings or better, just like in Jeremiah Johnson TV show or the movie Jeremiah Johnson, and head out into the Rockies and just say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I don't need none of your stuff, your society, community, all that. I could be up here and I might have a kid or two, and wife, this and that, and you wouldn't even know I was there. Can we do that? It's public land. You know, I ain't taking nothing. If I kill a bar or, you know, all that kind of thing, I bring it down and I trade it out for lead ball and powder and some bacon fat and baking soda powder, flour, you know, the kind of things back in the, you know, before the Civil War, the 1860s. Oh, I better get going. I don't want it that fast. Can we do that? That's an honest question. Can we do that? Where can we and can't we? Let me give you a little story now. The third part of this video. When I was stationed in Germany, I was in the Army. I was a tank mechanic. And I was stationed in Germany for 3 years. So, you know, I hunt and fish, and I've done that kind of thing. And I'm wondering, you know, do they do that here? You know, I don't know. Shit, I've never been out of dang Nevada for the whole dang life. So I got into it. And, you know, let me tell you what about Europe, right? And this is back in 83, 82, right? They said, oh, yeah, well, you know, you got to go through a lot of crap to do that in Europe. And I go, well, what? Okay, I want to go fishing. I was like, okay, well, you got to get a fisher's license. Then you got to pay for the place you fish, say river, stream, lake. Then you got to pay for the fish. Then the forestmeister, because he's in charge of all that stuff, whatever the block of forest or land is, and water or whatever resources are in it, you got to ask him if you can keep that fish. Yeah, you go hunting, you got to ask the forestmeister. You don't even go in that forest unless you ask the forestmeister. You don't walk on it, you don't drive on it, you don't go in it, you don't cut no wood without asking the forestmeister, and more than likely you got to pay. Say you go in hunting, and they do hunt. Say you go in for a deer, right? You go in, you know, the forestmeister tells you which deer you will shoot. You don't keep the deer. You split it up with the local area, village, burg, whatever, folks that are there. The trophy goes up into the beer hall, the beer house, or whatever, you know. Can't remember what it's called now. It's called something different. And you might get a few cuts, you know, and this and that, and you can have a barbecue, something like that. But no. You do none of that stuff. You do none of that. If you want to go out in the forest, you got to schedule it. You know, camping, you got to schedule it. And you got to ask the government or the government representative, can I do that? If he says no, you better keep your ass out of that forest. If you want wood, the forestmeister will go in, grade the trees, cut them, stack them on the side of the dirt road. You come up, you get a certain amount of wood, and then that's it for you. And that is it. You take one more stick of wood, it's your ass, Mr. Postman. So, you know, what are we looking at here? Are we going European? I can see why they've done it, because people have been living there for thousands of years. You know, imagine how hunted out or cut out the forest and wiped out the streams, you know. Probably went through hell to get it back to where it was going. But that's, you know, Germany or France, they got to be different countries. You know, this is America, it's huge. Are we getting to where there's so many people that we can't do that, or I don't know. What's going on? Food for thought. All right. Live by your wits, not by your words. Bye.